All right, guys, welcome back. We have exhaust manifold gasket. We have timing cover gasket. We have balance shaft guide. We have Mamba Saab 93 turbo oil and waterline kit. I basically already had this when I ordered the GTX 3582 oil and coolant line kit, but some of the Banjo fittings that this kit had were a little bit better, so I ordered this kit. We're going to kind of hodgepodge them together. So we'll see how that goes. These are some additional studs for the exhaust manifold. These are additional nuts for the exhaust manifold that I was missing. This is the bleeder valve for the F40. We did get a new slave cylinder as well, but this is that running up there and then out here because I bent the top of that, unfortunately. So I got a new one of those. Let's see what else. I'll just already showed you the studs for the exhaust manifold to put the turbo on. T3 gasket. They don't sell an oil pan gasket, so we just had the Victor Rhines, whatever this is, silicone, so we got to make our own gasket. This is the tensioner for the balance shaft. Let's see it there. I'll get this open up, but that's what's going to be going back on, and to keep this balance shaft tight and the chain. And then boom, this is the most expensive part I think we ordered, which is the slave cylinder for the F40 for the 4-cylinder variant. So there's all the parts. The goal is to have this thing in the car running today, or at least start it up. We won't have the downpipe welded or anything, but at least you'll hopefully see it run. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's get after it. All right, we're back. Let's see. Jay, you want to do the honors? Pull that pin. I'll apply some fake tension.
Okay. Jeez. Here we go.
Come on, pull that bitch. Hey! It made a noise. Let's go.
All right.
Next. All right, guys, just real quick. I got a little confused. Almost forgot how this goes back in. So, water pump on the backside. Okay. Put this in. Have this locking tool in place real quick just to hold it. All right, so water pump is seated. All right. This guy, these are 14 mil heads, and it goes in here and here. I got confused putting the timing chain cover back on with these bolts. So that's a shorty, this is a shorty, this is a shorty, this is a long boy 14 mil head that's threading all the way through into the pump, and same with this one. So these are the two guys, if you're doing the water pump with the engine in the car, you got to be cognizant of. So let me go back in time lapse and get this thing buttoned up. Take my eyes off you. All right, guys, quick reminder. When the water pump is in, I know I covered this on the last video, but this is threaded. This one is not. This is a through hole. All through holes for alignment purposes. I don't know why these Must be something coming from the crossover pipe. But yeah, so when you're on the other side facing, you're only putting the long bolts in to go into these threaded holes. So this is put on this side of it, right? And you're just threading these 14 mil heads in right here. So those are the only thing. So it can get confusing because they have these like channels and it looks like there's a bolt should run through. As far as I know, on this side there's not. So just the two 14s come from this side. All right, guys, 15 foot-pounds for the timing chain cover. I'm gonna replace this seal. This also came with a kit in here. And let's keep moving. Before I laid my eyes on. All right, guys, so before we put the engine back in, we're going to go ahead and redo the manifold. This has a stock gasket on there. I have a new gasket. I'll grab it for you so you can see it. I have the new exhaust manifold gasket here. So we're going to pull this off. We got to actually, I think the studs are good. I ordered some extra studs, but we're going to check the torque on all the studs because we did pull them out and torque those down. And then we'll put the new, I think it's missing a nut in this corner, put the nut on here, get everything torqued down. The manifold will stay on when the car, when the engine goes back in the car. And then we'll also install the studs here and get those torqued. But we'll leave the turbo off when before the engine goes back in the car. We'll put that on once it's in the car. And then we'll start tackling these oil lines. I'll probably put all the new oil lines for the turbo on, and then we might have to mess with some of the Banjo sizings. We might have to order some different AN fittings, Banjo sizes. But other than that, let's keep pushing. All right, guys, so for these studs, this is a EP7 bit. EP7 bit, just had our first casualty, broke the tip off of this guy at 20 foot-pounds. So I did order 2 extras, so that's good, so we can reuse 2 of the originals. So we'll get this one out quickly before the thread locker sits and get the gasket on. But go easy on these. All right, guys. So in the eBay turbo line kit, Mamba, there's 3 additional lines that you haven't seen. So obviously we got the oil drain line on, big boy right there. So then there's 3 additional lines. So one of them has this nipple, which I believe has this to go to connect to a soft line that runs around the engine. I believe that way, if I remember correctly. So this is a coolant line. Then there's 2 left, and they're different sizes. So the thicker one will be your other coolant line. So those are your 2 coolant lines, and that'll come off the water block, and then we'll show you those in a sec. But the remaining line is this thinner one. This is your oil feed line, and that'll be the line we just pulled off coming from here, this hole in the block, to the top nipple or the top, opening on the turbo, directly across from the oil drain, obviously. So we're going to hook these Banjo bolts up and see if we can get them all plumbed up. But there you go. That's a quick 411 on the lines that come with the kit. All right, guys, quick little synopsis. So this is where the coolant feed line is coming off the water block. Your coolant return line runs around the front of the engine and is a hose barb into that T that's on the front side of the 2.0. So kind of interesting. This Banjo bolt is a 14 millimeter. So for this, in order to run a new line, you need a 14 millimeter to a 9/16 AN fitting for this guy. So this is a 14 millimeter bolt. The 14 millimeter, the coolant ports on the turbo are also 14 millimeters, and those are oriented. So one's here, one's on the backside. Like I said, 14 millimeter on those guys. And then you'll need the same AN or the same adapter here. You need 3 total. So one here, one on the backside. Then you have obviously your oil return feed, which is great. It's a little kinked, but I don't think that should be an issue. It should still flow fine, but it is kind of holding the turbo up at a weird angle. But once we get that properly clocked and tightened down, that'll be fine. Then your Banjo on top is this standard one, actually. Let me see if I can get standard size, which let me check the size real quick for you, which is a 12. So this is going to be, we have a different one, but yeah, serving the 12 millimeter up top here for the oil feed Banjo bolt, going to a smaller AN fitting. I'm not exactly sure. I believe that'd be a 1/2 inch. Let me check for you. Let's see. Do I have one out here? I believe it's 1/2 inch. So that would be that. Let me pull it off and double check. So I think that gives you all you need to know. 14 millimeter to 9/16 AN. You need 3 of this specific adapter. One here coming off for the water feed, coolant feed. You need, this is where the coolant feed into the turbo would go. The coolant return would come off the back of the turbo and then run to the front, the T barb on the front of the engine. Your oil feed is here coming off the block, which is down here, which you've seen further video of. And then here's your oil return. So I got 2 of these adapters coming in the mail, and I got a few more Banjo bolts coming in the mail. So things should be here tomorrow. We'll get it all piped up. But for now, we'll get the engine back in, get it rolling.
told you before I laid my eyes on.
All right, guys, just finished the F40 prep. This is a ZZP bleeder valve. The collar, this black piece that goes all the way through, and it sticks out under here, that was not included in the part. So the part that I bought, this little hose here, metal line, this is the new slave cylinder. And then this new line did not come, like I said, with this black piece. That's all I'm trying to say. So but yeah, this is the bleeder. It only can go this way, so you do have to pull the bracket. I think that Justin just moved. Let me grab it. This I think holds a coolant line, and so it goes right here on these black. All right, guys, what you're looking at right here is the oil drain line for the turbo, the return to the block. I don't want to get in the light, but it just sits in there, and it's a little worrisome. So we're trying to create a collar and to thread into and use a bolt to essentially just this collar we created, just cutting a washer, and it'll hold this.
Pull off, I can see it.
Go ahead and there you go. So Justin's showing you here. We'll zoom out. All right. So yeah, using an existing washer like this, cutting it to fabbing it like this, and then now we're gonna weld it using some wizardry. That sits on like that, and then we got some connector little pieces that we cut up a little cheap wrench, and you will see what the final product is. We'll get this welded. So nice little fab project here. That's what the original.
It looks something like that. Just basically use this as the hole, cut the end off, and bent it. Success. It's gonna sit like. So that'll thread into the block. That'll hold the collar down, I guess.
All right, gang. I think it's time. This engine with the F40, all the knickknacks we put on today, you saw the footage, is going back in the car. We are almost there. Let's time lapse. Let's get this puppy in. I don't know if we can fire tonight because we got some fittings coming before tomorrow, but let's go. All right, gang, motor's back in. We still haven't tackled the harness. That's a future problem, but I did swap the GM sensors out to the stage 1s. This one has notable difference. This harness has 4 prongs on this side and 3 on this side. The factory sensor here had 3 pins. This one, 4 prongs on this side, 4 prongs on this side as well. So, and this factory one had 4 as well. I don't have the factory sensors near me, or else I'd show you. But yeah, so there is a notable difference. The sensors themselves are the same part number, but the harnesses that connect to them keep the 3 here and the 4 here. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Appreciate you guys watching. I think next video, we're going to start this bad boy up. So click the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll start this baby up soon. Thanks.